was working out at a gym in Memphis, right across the river from where I live. I had run across some guys like Hillbilly Jim, Randy Savage, Lanny Poffo. At our time there in Memphis, the real popular guys were the fabulous ones, guys like that. And we were working in there, from day to day. They saw me a lot, and a guy came over to me and approached me. The guy was Randy Savage. He said, "Man, have you ever thought about getting into the wrestling business?" And I thought, no, I have not really ever thought about it. Knew it was real hard. It was back then. It was a lot harder, a lot less talked about too, and it was harder to get people to talk to you about it. So I just never really considered it. And I said, no. He goes, well, I got someone I can introduce you to get you started. So he introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Tojo Yamamoto, which is a really big Japanese star there in the U.S. The championship wrestling organization there in Memphis at the time. And he had a school in Nashville. So what I did is I got up at 3 o'clock in the mornings on Sunday. I drove to Nashville, got tortured about 7 hours from this little fat Japanese guy. He beat me with a stick all day long. Did that for about a year, and then got into my first territory, which was down in Continental with the promoters down there, the Fullers. And started off there and really had a lot of fun. To me, it was like traveling around from town to town in a circus-like atmosphere with your brothers, your family. There was sometimes a lot of animosity towards each other, but when it really came down to it, all we had was each other, and it was a really family bond. Of course, you go through the normal struggles like being away from home, being homesick, having to find a new place to live, and trying to save money to pay your bills there, and then send back to pay bills at home. Had a little boy was only 5 years old. You're missing everything with your family life. But you know what? I don't remember or regret any of that because it was so much fun starting in the business. My gimmick was it started as one character, Sid Vicious. In that character, there was a character in there of like John Wayne, the stand-up-in-your-face type of guy that never backed down, in-your-face fighting all the time. And then as time went on, I started experimenting with my interviews and things like that. Then I put, some like Hannibal Lecter into the deal when, I do the laughing or sort of go off in those interviews when I started going off a little bit, like I wasn't there anymore, thinking of different things. My style was, to create fear in the people. Like when I would, what I do is like something devastating, a move like take the guy by his throat, hold him for a few seconds, let the people see the intensity, while I'm holding, and his eyes are meeting my eyes, and then lift him up and then drop him down real hard, all right? And then, then I would stand back behind him and let him start moving on his own, and then I'd look at the people, look back and go, okay, now it's time to get him again. And as I do that, weight deal, then that's when the people are like, oh, God, no, get away, but then get him. The belt that I can remember meaning the most to me was when I won the World Wrestling Federation Championship for the first time, and it was at, of all places, the Madison Square Garden. And our business that's one of the dreams, first of all, is just get to the Gardens. If you get there, you've achieved almost everything you can achieve in the business, and then to win the title there, that says it all. Major injuries, we could be here for about 2 hours talking about this, but I'll just run across a few that was pretty serious. One of the serious ones I think for sure you could put on that list is when I broke my neck and they had to take a bone chip out of my hip and replace one of my vertebrae. That was a pretty hard deal. Took a long time to get through. But I'm gonna have to say that the hardest, the worst injury that I've had up to date is when I broke my leg, a double compound fracture of the tibia and fibula above my ankle. For sure that's been the hardest one because it really took one of my limbs away, where the lower limb too, one of your legs, where I had to support all my weight on my right leg, being on a walker for the first time. Really you get a taste of what it's like. You see people in wheelchairs and things like that. Once or twice a week, I try to get to the track and now start doing some physical walking up and down bleachers to get my left leg prepared to get caught up with my right leg where I can do the things it takes to wrestle. So that's what I'm doing right now. My opponent tonight would be easily pointed out in the back. He would be the man sitting there with a stared look in his face of knowing it'd be his last walkout. For he knows that this night he meets the man who is invincible and goes by the name Sid Vicious. For you, my friend, time has run out, though as if the last grain of sand has fell through the hourglass, and it is time for you to meet your maker.